Here's the way it goes. Some chemist somewhere comes up with an analog. Eventually, over time, lawmakers catch up to the fact that this is very similar to the drugs that we have, even a little bit more dangerous because it's not the best version. It's the like abstracted version. Some of them are actually pretty bad too. This is where the whole bath salts thing comes from. The same channels in the same community. At one point in time, nobody knew LSD was a thing, and then they accidentally found it. So they're kind of like, if we keep playing with these molecules, maybe we'll actually find one that's like good. So new chemicals come onto the market. You can just go on the internet and buy it. Something called xylazine, which is big in like other countries. It's like a tranquilizer for animals. It's supposed to knock them out. One of my favorites was DIPT, which is a hallucinogen, but it's just an auditory hallucinogen. Your vision is fine. Everything just looks a little sparkly, but the things you're hearing are just very confusing. Ups and downs and pitch shifts. You hear everything different. So it wasn't stuff that wasn't there. It was like everything was processed. I've even done actual adrenochrome, the thing that supposedly me and all the other people in the transgender elite are drinking. It was like being scared in slow motion for an hour and a half. You know that feeling that happens when you get startled? Imagine if you could take that and you could slow it down. Or I had a month or two of doing that research chemical DCK and kind of went way insane on that. DCK, deschloroketamine. Instead of just ketamine, they added these extra molecular features, and now it's deschloroketamine and it's legal. They sell it in Australia as an aphrodisiac. I'm somebody who doesn't randomly have delusions normally, but in states of extreme depletion on psychedelics, I guess I do. There were so many delusions. The cops were coming to get me for things that I didn't even do. I ended up smashing all of my old hard drives. There was one point where I didn't sleep through the night and I woke up and I thought it was an emergency that I needed to go on Amazon and buy a boat. There's something so fascinating to me about the moment of switching back from crazy. So when you weren't delusional and then you started having delusions, there was that switch that went from non-delusional to delusional. And that's usually very like seductive. You're suddenly in this new state. But when you switch back to sane from crazy, there's this moment of realization. You have to actually call yourself out and be like, wait a second. All of the things that I thought were the most important and the most serious things, none of these are valid. You're like, right, but then I saw this and then I saw this and then this happened and it made sense, right? Looking back, you're like, no, no, it didn't. Those were certainly dots. They were not meant to be connected. And you're so creative. You are very creative. Good for you. And it's so embarrassing. Yeah. You know, like I think that's why a lot of people have a hard time coming out of that stuff because it is so embarrassing to admit that you just were crazy. If you're somebody who's trying to access the reaches of excess, it's generally gonna end up bad. Something like a paranoia is an unrealistic fear above and beyond what you could ever possibly imagine. It should make you stop. It should make you be like, oh my God, that was scary, I'm gonna stop. But for crazy, explorers, they're like, oh, that seems like a boundary I can cross. I have to like come out as like a little bit mental at this point. You push yourself to the extent a person can, you're gonna be a little bit crazy.